Runway.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Runway.
The
Welcome to
Runway.
the episode of the Runway. I guess my name is Jeff over here. Seems to think that we're beforehand. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for chiming in and listening. John, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the people who you are. Two first names.
Two first names. I am John Drew, or known around these circles as JMD. Or today I got a new nickname. What was it? Bitcoin John.
Bitcoin John.
Or Bit John.
Bit John.
So anyway, I am. Let's see. I do several things here. I run our curated mining business, which is a Bitcoin mining business where we work with investors to deploy capital and put it into Bitcoin mining operations. And I also produce the Bitcoin Day events. So Bitcoin Day Naples happened in January. We have Bitcoin Day Tampa coming up in June, on June 14th. And we have Bitcoin Day Tysons, Virginia coming up on September 27th. And I also am the co-host of the Naples Bitcoin and Blockchain Meetup Group. Is that good enough?
No, keep going.
Keep going.
I got to finish sending my text. I'm just kidding. My name is Jeff.
Jeff.
Tell the peoples about yourself.
Naples native, student to the game. I love learning everything and anything about blockchain and Bitcoin and all the technology and fun stuff that comes along with it. That's it.
I need you to talk for another 2 minutes. I need you to
So
bullshit your resume.
Tech in Italy.
Technically, tell them about the poncho. I want to know about the poncho.
Poncho,
What's going on?
It keeps me
Let's
warm.
put the hood on. I want to see the hood on. I want to see this poncho. Where did you get this thing at?
Temu.
What? Oh my God! This shit came from China. You're even putting the Native Americans out of their job. That's wow.
Tech in Italy.
Shame. Technically. All right, Tim. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Tim Steves. I am.
Tim, can you please?
Tim, you're gonna have to like lean into the mic.
There's a very
Yeah,
strong
bit
noise
closer.
gate on these mics because we're literally on an airport.
We are
and
actually
there's-
on a runway. If you roll up
Okay.
the window.
Yeah, there's a fleet of private jets out there. It's quite bright, so you might not see it.
Yeah.
But given that noise factor, we have a strong noise gate. So if you don't lean into the mic, it's going to cut you out.
Okay, got it. So
You
when
can
I'm
tip it up to
not dodging jets,
Oh, yeah.
private jets, that is.
You might have to lower your chair a little
I am,
bit so you can.
I'm
Get right
busy
up on
as
Boom.
pretty much the last 7 years. I'm in my 7th year as a residential real estate agent in Southwest Florida. However, I'm transitioning into high ticket sales, quicker close, and more freedom of movement.
What do you
Love to
mean by high
travel.
ticket? What is high ticket sales? What do you mean by that?
High ticket sales is a space where it's basically digital sales. So it's done via phone calls, Zoom meetings, or Google Chat. And it depends on the offering. It could be anything from software as a service to something more personal like getting in shape, losing
Mhm.
weight for a program. So there's a wide variety of offerings. But as you would imagine, that continues to grow.
Oh, I heard Ben. Ben, are you on the call? Is Ben in the background?
Yes, he accidentally his audio is live, but
I heard.
don't
I
have his
heard
vid-
that. I heard that pleasant smoker's cough we've come to love. Now in the background. All right, Tim. Sorry to interrupt you.
Not at all.
Continue. We'll bring Ben in a minute.
Great. So so it's definitely a space that's growing very fast. Basically 25% per year, people buying things online, and they're also buying programs and software as a service online as well. So that's what it involves is in a nutshell. And also I'm a big Bitcoin advocate, crypto advocate, and love to travel.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm curious, does so the old fashioned sales was, pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, calling.
Right.
What are you doing here? Emailing people, spam botting them? What?
Spam bot.
No, it's not that difficult. I mean, there are some spaces where you can work your local market still, pounding the pavement, wearing out the shoes, the shoe leather. But for the most part, you're looking at digital influencers or software as a service where you're already set up with kind of a warm lead
Mm.
where they're looking to solve something in their business or in their software as a service. Maybe you've got a small business or a medium-sized business. Even
They're coming to you with the problem.
They're coming to you with the
essentially,
problem
You already
that you
have an
wanna
issue. You're
solve.
trying to help them with the
Yeah.
pain point. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Got it.
All right, Paul, can you get Ben in this? Is he already on the video feed here? I can't see him. That's why I ask.
Yeah, so let me get him up. He is in the studio. And you won't be able to see him, unfortunately,
Okay.
unless I hold on.
No
Let me
worries.
just so you can see him initially. I'm going to drag this over.
Oh, nice. All right, I can see that now.
For some reason, to change this, okay. Let's not get too into the weeds here.
There we go. There he is. Bitcoin Ben, the man, the myth, the legend.
What's up, Ben?
Can you hear us, Ben?
Ben, you are live.
We got you on the main screen now. You're ready to go. Welcome to the program.
I hope he can hear us.
I don't know if he can hear us.
I can't hear him.
We can't hear him, though, that's for sure. I heard him cough. Maybe he muted us. Let's see here.
He is talking now. What's going on?
Oh, we just can't hear him. We've so
Ben, can you
this
hear
is-
us?
So for those of you waiting in anticipation, this is the first time we've tried to bring somebody in on this podcast from
like from a live
outside.
stream from outside, but
So we're going to experience a few technical difficulties, but we have faith in Paul,
yeah,
and we
have
know
faith in
that
Paul.
he will get it figured out soon enough. In the meantime,
We are working on it.
But Ben
Where are we
has
going from here?
so graciously is offering he's essentially giving away a free Bitcoin Las Vegas 2025 ticket. So we're going to give it away on this podcast, the live stream today. So whoever asks the best question has the most interesting, input on one of the stories, whatever. We're going to give somebody one of these tickets. And that's graciously coming from Bitcoin Ben and Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club. So
Awesome.
hopefully, I know, Paul, we did have him at one point. I could hear him coughing. So
Yeah, I know. That's what's so strange. I'm going to switch the audio source here.
maybe
Hey,
that's
Ben,
what it
can
is.
you hear us?
Ben,
He
give
can
us
hear us,
a
apparently.
nice head shake if you can hear us.
So Ben can hear us, but we can't hear him.
dead air.
Seems
That's
like he's
what's-
frozen.
Supposed to have dead air.
What's up?
We're not supposed to have dead air. Like we let it go silent for
Dead
like
air.
10 seconds. That's
I've heard that.
Oh, I didn't think
Yeah.
about that.
uh,
It just feels like we're having just a regular conversation.
yeah. So we're live. We've got people listening.
Yeah.
We should distract them with something else.
We don't need the uncomfortable pause.
We don't need the uncomfortable pauses. So
All right.
let's talk about something else.
All
till
right,
Paul
I can
figures
tell you
it
that
out.
back in the Soviet days that they often would just sit there and not reply and let the Americans get so uncomfortable. The Americans would always say something and give in because they just could not stand the uncomfortable pause.
That's a good negotiating technique, actually.
Yeah, it was
Right.
quite successful for them for a lot of times.
Yes. So you guys don't know this, but Tim and I discovered that we have something in common.
That's right.
Speaking of the Soviet days, well, мы оба говорим по-русски, and we're both ex-CIA spies.
Но это неправда, это совсем не, это не точно то. Я никогда не заработал на США государство.
Wow. Yeah, all I know is what I learned when I had a Russian girlfriend, which is Ti очень красивая and я люблю тебя. That's all I need to know.
That's all you need to know.
I love you, baby, and you look beautiful. That's it.
That's
A
all
little
you
bit of
need to know.
привет and как дела, and that's pretty much the extent of it.
Yeah, so something interesting we can talk about.
So
Well,
unfortunately, Ben has dropped off.
Okay.
I don't know
No
what the
worries.
deal is. We heard him at one point.
Yeah. Something maybe got unchecked or something. I don't know. It's the first time we've ever tried to
changed
do it.
nothing from my
we'll-
side. So
We'll test it out like off the stream in the future and try to figure out what went wrong. But let's just move along here. Let's go into the first story of the day, Paul. Let's just dive right in here.
let's rock and roll.
But yeah, whoever does ask the best question in the live stream. So Paul, thank you for the live stream.
Okay, here we are. He
Oh, we got Ben
rejoined,
back.
and
Nice.
we
He
can hear
rejoined.
him now.
Oh, we can hear him now.
Sweet.
All right.
That
let's get
fixes
into
it.
it.
Just
there we go.
the good old fashioned on and off.
Hey, the restart.
Oh, nice.
That's
the,
right.
the fucking restart. Let's see it.
Exactly.
Get 'em up there.
Just
Get
I'm
that
telling you,
big beautiful
these
Ben up there.
laptops are just like women. If they don't work, just slap shit out of them.
No, first you have to turn them on.
First,
Yes, you got to turn them on, Ben.
yes.
You have to do that first.
Yeah. Well,
unless you're Shannon
the
Sharp, then
hard
apparently you can
part
just slap
is
the shit out of
actually
them.
Turning them on.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my
I don't know what's
gosh.
going on with Shannon Sharp. I know something funky was going on with the OnlyFans model, but I'm just messing with you, Shannon.
Well, and Ben, that might be the hard part for you, turning on the women, but I've never had a problem with that.
Son, I got a lot of fucking cash. I could turn on any woman. At least
True.
for an hour.
At least for an hour. I just got this Aura ring, and it was it posted a thing on my thing. It was like it noticed activity in the middle of the night, and it was like you burn 247 calories for this night over this 19-minute span, and it just has activity instead of like weightlifting. It just says other. And I just don't
You
understand.
jack shit.
Sent it to my wife, and I said, what is this, babe? Aura ring. Like, Aura knows what the fuck. Aura knows what I was doing at 3:00 in the morning. Like, it just put other. Classic. Oh, classic. All right.
Okay.
Ben, talk to us.
Yes, sir.
What do you got for us? I kind of told the people what's going on, but why don't you chime in here and let them know from your perspective?
On what?
The giveaway.
What you're doing with the giveaway is here.
Oh,
I
hell
told whoever
yeah.
asked the best
Hell
question
yeah.
in the live stream, but I said, we'll give. Ben's got 5 or 6 tickets to give away, and we can give one away every live stream. And whoever asks the best questions and engages with us, you got a free ticket to courtesy of Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club, straight to Las Vegas in was it May 28th, 29th?
Yeah. Yep.
May 27th to
29th, yeah.
29th. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Biggest-
what we
biggest
are
couple hours of the year.
doing is we've actually partnered with you guys. Hi, John. You good-looking
Hey,
son of a bitch.
Thank you.
What I love is he's the only guy who looks as old, if not older than me.
yeah, he was. I had to do a DEI hire, so
Yeah.
I was the DEI hire.
A senior citizen. I found
like
him at
somebody who looks
Walmart
like
welcoming people.
Ben, I think I am older than you are.
It's the glasses and the gray.
God, I
hair.
hope
Yeah,
so,
I
because
don't
you
know
sure
if I
the
would've
fuck
been able
look
to
older
go
than
on.
I do.
Thank you. I appreciate
You know
it.
I love you, John. No. What we are doing is we're actually partnering with you guys, and what I want to do is I want the average Joe, average hooker, who have the opportunity to actually come to Las Vegas and hang out with just wonderful, amazing crypto and also Bitcoin people, and really see how energetic these events are. And a lot of people, I think these are worth 300 or 400 or something dollars, and a lot of people, that's a lot of money. Hell, when I was younger, that was rent money.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
was younger. So what we want to do is help at least, I'd say 4 or 5 people go, and it's really because I want the adoption. I want people to realize where we're at right now. Just the news of what Jack Mahler is doing. Shout out to Jack if you're watching, brother. Great job. Launching, I think the name of the company is actually 21. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
21 and me. You just send them all of your genetics, and then they sell it to the Russians and the Chinese and whoever else. And you're off to the
I think
races.
that one was
In
23.
exchange for Bitcoin.
Yeah, in exchange for Bitcoin.
I'm just kidding. My bad.
You got a
Yeah,
KYC.
it's literally a company. It's literally a company by Bitcoin. Their only job is where do I apply? It's literally, and trust me, guys, Jack is a pimp. That dude is a pimp.
He's quite the character.
is literally, I think he's only 26, maybe 27 years old. And he's killing it, folks. And he really grasps the whole movement. He really grasps why it is so important that everyone actually get involved in this as early as possible. And they actually put him as CEO. So now he's actually pulling an Elon. You know, he'll have his other company is Strike, and now he has this one. So he'll be running two fucking companies. Next thing you know, he's in Washington D.C. slapping the shit out of bureaucrats. You know, and this just shows he's so fucking passionate about this. And if you look at who he's actually partnered with, all right, the guy who runs one of the companies he has actually partnered with is in the president's cabinet as I think he's the head of currencies or shit.
Yeah, you're talking about the head of Cantor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The dude is in charge of the currency. He's launching a company that we're going. I mean, the dude is in charge of the U.S. dollar. FYI, and Bitcoin. Fuck the dollar. And if you can't read these fucking tea leaves glasses, or you're blind as shit, because we have Trump in the White House basically swung everyone to actually buy Bitcoin, and everyone in the White House is pro-freedom. You have the CNBC and Bloomberg. Is Bitcoin really going to make it?
Did you see that when they were in the one interview with Jack, when they were talking about this, and the guy that was like forced to ask him the questions, he tried to like make friendly joke, and the guy was just a complete piece of shit. I think it was like on the clip I saw, it was like about 3.5 to 4 minutes in. Like Jack tried to say, "Oh, I thought you're," he kind of was trying to be like pleasant and make a joke, and like this guy was just such a dick. He was like, "No, answer the question that I asked you," blah blah blah. Like just was not even, trying to like act all pompous.
I didn't see the clip.
Yeah, I think I tagged it somewhere.
If you let's see, you guys had an event. I think it was in Miami. I think it was a Bitcoin day in Miami.
Yep.
And you guys had some asshole off of Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking you guys had an event. I think it was in Miami. I think it was a Bitcoin day, Miami. You know what? Fuck off, dickhead. Because they're anti-freedom. They work for the system. Am I live?
You are live.
Yeah,
You are live, baby. You're live as can be.
Either they work for the system or they're victims of the system.
Hello? Bueller?
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
Well, we didn't lose him. We can still hear him.
We can
Maybe
hear
he
you.
lost us.
We can still hear you,
Yeah.
Ben. But if you can't hear us, then there's no point in continuing. So
Let's see here. Let me tell Ben. I'll text him.
So what was
I was getting some messages from people saying that there was terrible delay and static in his audio on the actual live stream.
All righty. Did I lose you guys?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah.
Let me cue you back in. I'm
Hello.
not sure what's going on with this connection. We're testing out OBS,
Yeah, we're
open
just.
source
Hello.
software.
This was like you messaged me earlier, like, "Hey, let's do this," and like this is our first time trying to make this happen. So we're
So to repeat the deal here, Ben's giving away what 5 tickets.
but we're
5
gonna give
tickets
we're
to
gonna give
Bitcoin
away
Vegas.
we're gonna give away a ticket probably every live stream episode. So over
Yeah.
the next week or two, we're gonna just give one away to whoever asked the best question, has the most
and
engagement.
they have to like and retweet also to
Ah, that's a good
qualify,
idea.
right?
Yeah, I like
yes,
that.
they have
I
to
like that.
to like the post,
Follow the channel,
Yeah.
all that kind of good stuff.
follow.
Paul can lay it all out. Can you hear us, Ben? Oh, we can't hear him anymore.
Yeah. So though the 233 of you out there listening, that's the game. If you find the post that led you here to this podcast and like that post, follow the channel, and retweet the post, then so those are 3 difficult things to really do, 3 buttons to press, and then we're gonna make a subjective judgment, but you need to either comment or ask a question, and whoever makes the
We can
best
hear you, Ben.
comment /
Can you
asks
hear
the
us?
best question, then
All right.
they're gonna win the ticket to Bitcoin Vegas.
Can you hear us, Ben?
Yeah. If you can hear me, give away a ticket, and I will.
We will.
And we'll actually work it out somehow.
Beautiful.
All right.
We got you, brother.
We're gonna do it.
Thanks for joining us today. And Bitcoin Ben, guys, has been we're glad to have him. And Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club might be the very first sponsor of the Runway podcast. So and the Cypherpunk'd podcast as well. So
Yep.
we're in the talks on that. We're gonna see what happens here. All right, Ben, thanks so much for joining us today, brother. We love you. Talk soon, and we are gonna give away a ticket courtesy of you to whoever asks the best question today in the live stream.
Yeah.
So, all right, Paul, why don't you cue us up, and we'll dive right into today's events.
Yeah, so that's BitcoinBenCryptoClub.com. They
Mhm.
have clubs, physical clubs in
Yeah.
Nashville, Boston,
We'll
St.
we'll
Louis.
have Paul put it on the
in the show
in the
notes.
comments, and
Yeah.
we'll have people put it. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
put it in the show
All
notes as well. But yeah, it's
Well, I'm
just
just
explain-
killing time,
no,
time while he's
us about it.
queuing up the next.
No
thing,
doubt.
right?
Tell us about and if you want to franchise your own club, you can do that as well, which is pretty cool. So if you're in a city, apparently they're opening new clubs all over the place, and
Yep.
it's just kind of a cool way for imagine driving down the road and you just see on the side of the road, oh, there's like a Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, what is crypto? What is Bitcoin? Like I don't know anything about these things. You can actually go in and talk to somebody, actually ask questions and actually sit down in meeting rooms, conference rooms. They do events, so educational events, they'll have live streams. Ben has shows. You have access to the network, and there's other perks and benefits for members as well. But it's kind of a community thing. I know they have poker nights sometimes and just fun stuff, right? But you get to go meet, link up, hang out with other people at a physical location that are into Web3 and that care about the future of money, that care about Bitcoin. So really cool concept, cool idea. And we're happy to hopefully partner with them soon. And obviously he's already given away free tickets on the show. So hope to have him as our very first sponsor.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, Paul. You got us queued up here?
Yep, we're ready to rock, and
All
the
right.
audio was sorted out there at the
okay.
end.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate that we
Uh-huh.
had that issue, but for the next time around, Ben, it'll be a more smooth experience.
All right. Well, we got to try it. Sometimes there's a first time for everything, right? So
Right, you have to,
So bear with us.
build the plane while you're flying
Yep.
it. You've heard that before, haven't you,
Yeah.
Tim?
I have.
All right, first story of the day. So many probably know that the judges in New York, and Letitia James is this career criminal in my mind. She decided that she was going to weaponize the justice system against President Trump, and try to change statutes and do all this crazy stuff. Go back and say, hey, you lied about the value of Mar-a-Lago in Florida 30 years ago on a mortgage application that a bank gave you credit on or something. Just something totally, absolutely asinine and ridiculous because the bank did the due diligence and decided what the property was worth. You don't just take whatever somebody says, hey, my house is worth $5 million. No bank is just going to lend you money based on what you say. They have to go do comps and do their own research. So the whole thing was obviously this big political, total weaponization of justice against a political opponent. So now it looks like Letitia James has been caught red-handed defrauding, doing her own mortgage fraud, which is actually fraud, which is like a dead to right case where she lied about being in the state and basically saying she's a resident of Virginia while she's in New York and just totally lying about everything. It sucks that my thought is everybody can be got. You want to go get somebody on some ticky-tacky thing that somebody did at some point in life. It's like, we're going to do this type of shit. It devolves our entire society. We don't have a society. It's weaponizing politics. So in a way, like, it's being weaponized against her, but only because she weaponized it against the president of the United States to try to stop him from becoming elected, right? So she's getting a taste of her own medicine. And it really sucks for society when the taxpayer has to pay these judges and all these things to waste all these millions of taxpayer dollars to do this type of shit. But I don't feel bad for her at all. I think that she's got what she deserves. I mean, this is the problem when you try to weaponize the system. Somebody can dig and find something. So this is what we have here. What do you guys think about that?
Well, the level of hypocrisy is just it's just apparent. I mean, it just seems that people on the far left, there's I think the psychological term, let's see, you had psychology degree at some point back in an old day.
I did.
Yeah, so projection, I think it's called. It's like they accuse
Right. Yes.
us of the very things that they do, and they can't seem to see the difference. I don't know. The blind leading the blind, it seems like.
Definitely the blind leading the blind. You got to take Jeff?
Nah.
Nah, you want to pass on? Okay, pass on it. What about you, Johnny boy?
I'll just say karma. Right?
Yeah, karma. Yeah.
Karma. We get back twice what we put out there. So the type of energy we put out there, that's what we get back in folds. So
yeah, it just sucks that our society, our system was supposed to kind of like be above this kind of shit, but like the Biden administration really opened a can of worms going after their political opponents and coordinating all these like little show trials and scams and bullshit that they did. And now this is like the beginning of some, hey, you know, if you live in glass houses, we can throw stones, right? It's like that kind of thing. And I kind of like don't like it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, hey,
it's the
like
story.
you got what's coming.
The story of human civilization.
Yeah,
right?
you're not wrong.
It's been going on.
You're not
for,
wrong.
For
You're
years
not wrong.
and years.
I mean, I just hope we can kind of like move past this, but at the same time,
right.
You know, she's getting what she deserved. She was a party to, you know, what she did, right? So, which is essentially fraud. I think fraud, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's always feels good,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes back.
When it comes
and
back,
when you
yeah.
see somebody, you know,
I just hope this doesn't have to
receive that
continue,
which
right?
they
Like,
had put out there.
whether they're, you know, I hope after this administration, I hope we just stop doing this as America. Like, we're kind of supposed to be above this, where we just like, you know, like I said, everybody has something in the closet that like you can go, oh, this form, you signed this or you did that. I mean, it's like, show me the person and I'll show you the crime. That's what this is. I mean, it's got that feel to it, right? And you know, to be fair, that they started this thing and tried to do this to Trump, and this is, you know, this is what's happening, right? Like, if you live in glass houses, you shouldn't throw stones. So she's getting what's coming to her.
Absolutely.
Let's move along to the next take. Did you have something else you want to chime in?
No,
as well?
just as you said, exactly. It's like if you can't defeat somebody in the realm of ideas, and then you stoop to such a low to make them a criminal based on insignificant charges, it's disgusting. It's just below that.
Yeah.
I mean, when it first started happening, I thought, oh, we're a banana republic.
Yeah.
I never would have thought the great United States would be considered a banana republic, but that's the road that seems to have been taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have devolved, definitely. All right, Paul, what's next?
It's crazy that this has to even be said in 2025. Breaking. President Trump has signed an executive order affirming that all citizens should be treated equally under the law, emphasizing meritocracy and a colorblind society over race or sex-based favoritism. I mean, you know, we had all the stuff that happened 80, 90 years ago, civil rights, you know, many, very long time ago, which was obviously totally wrong, treating people differently under the law based on the color of their skin. And now we've turned into a society that does the opposite. It gives people benefits based on the color of our skin. I mean, the neutral position is stop fucking discriminating against people and stop favoring people with, you know what I mean? Like, it's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
We don't need to do any of this. Treat everybody equally, fairly under the law, right? It's a meritocracy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, using physical characteristics that you are born with to decide whether you get to go to a college or you get preference on this, or, you know, in the same way of like discriminating is also wrong. Like, both of those things are completely morally wrong. If you think about it as a first principles thinker, you are giving somebody an advantage for a sex or physical characteristic that they had no choice in, and to the detriment of others. It's totally wrong. It's unethical. It's completely wrong. It's in my mind, it's evil. It really is evil. Both ways are evil. So, what do you got to say?
Go ahead. Tim's got something to say about it.
I mean, it just brings to mind to judge a person on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Spoken by a great leader, Martin Luther King Jr. And to think that he spoke that at 80 years ago somehow? I don't know if it's that old. I'm getting older, but it's just a shame to devolve the other way.
He wants to live in a
pendulum went
society
from-
where we judge somebody based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin, right? So this is all antithetical to everything that Martin Luther King stand for. He didn't advocate for, a certain race getting preferential treatment into
Right.
colleges and stuff. He advocated for the complete opposite of that. So whatever the civil rights movement, what it was amazing, and now what it's turned into today is like this kind of like Marxist communist style, like class warfare type shit. Like it's just insane. It does not belong in America. We are a meritocratic society. It's time. I mean, this is enshrined in law. I believe it's I want to say Amendment 14 or something like that talks about this. But
Right.
this has got to go. It's got to stop. Harvard, all these colleges, it's just got to stop.
Well, even in
It's
the
cancerous.
Constitution, it says all men
Yeah.
are created equal.
Yeah,
right?
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Right? So,
Yep.
same thing.
We're not living up to Martin Luther King's dream right now if we're making decisions based on
Yeah.
someone's color.
Yeah, I totally agree. That should never be, any criteria in hiring or in anything. I mean, it's just totally morally and ethically wrong, in my opinion.
And as a person of color myself, like I wouldn't want to be picked to do something just because of the color of my skin.
Yeah.
So it's
Like, how are you going to know? Like, was he hired, because of,
Right.
Right? Like, was
You
he a
get that
DEI
shadow.
hire or was he actually hired by,
Yeah.
because he's qualified, right? Like, fuck that. Like, no, well, let's just hire people that deserve it based on their merit. It's as simple as that, right? Like, you can
Yes.
have it in a way like people, if you had lower, like people are like, oh, what about, if people are poor, this, that, and there's like, that can be a criteria. Did you overcome hardship, right? Whether you're white, black, Mexican, Asian, whatever. Did you overcome financial hardship, different types of hardships? Like that can be part of the process. Okay, this person was forged in steel. They overcame many of these things, but you don't need color or race to do that, right? It's insane.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and you can, like, a lot of people make the argument, okay, well, people of color more often come from this socioeconomic background or whatever. Well, then they'll still get the benefit if you just evaluate it based on hardship, right? Like they'll get that benefit. They can tell their testimony, their story, what they overcame, but then you don't exclude all the people that grew up in trailer parks that were different colors or that grew up wherever in a poor setting, but they are not, a preferred race or ethnicity, right?
What sucks is even if you do make those decisions based on pure merit, eventually it'll get brought up again. Like I don't think it's anything that's going to go away. Even if you went based on pure merit, eventually the discussion would be, oh, well, they chose them because of this.
Yeah. So that just needs to be totally eliminated as a criteria completely.
And I think as a society, we need to kind of like open
Yeah.
our eyes to that kind of thing
Yeah,
and just
it's time to move on.
Yeah.
It's time to like treat everybody equally, fairly, based on merit, and all this other shit is out the window. It's literally institutionalized racism is what it is. Like whether you're putting people down or you're accelerating certain group of people,
Mhm.
it's fucking
Mhm.
racism is what
Either
it is.
way.
Either way is racism. It's
Mhm.
the true answer is the true solution, and what Martin Luther King dreamed of was let's treat everybody equally based on merit. Forget all this other shit.
And to kind of apply that internationally, I spend a lot of time in Eastern Europe, and I look at how we're perceived in the United States. I mean, so often it's so much of this really bad news that they hear, but ultimately they all agree you have this amazing country where anybody, no matter what class they're born into, what socioeconomic level they were at, they have the opportunity to make themselves great. And that is a fact of our history. We have the most movement between socioeconomic classes of any country in the world. We're the envy of the world that way. And that's why so many people still want to come here and make it, because they know they have a real opportunity in the United States. So I'm thrilled. I think that's been understated under the basic propaganda of our country being nothing but focused on very divisive things for the past 20, 30 years. And I think that should be talked about now today as well, because it is still a fact. You can make it in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's always interesting to look at everything from the perspective of people that are not living here in the United States, and because like Tim says, we still are viewed as the greatest country in the world. That's why everybody wants to come here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to live in the United States. Everybody wants to get those visas. Everybody wants to be here legally. They're trying every which way they can to get here, because it's still, despite all of the divisiveness, despite all the problems that we're discussing, it's still the best place in the world to live, and the best society in the world to live within. And yeah. So I agree that I think we over legislate. I think that this whole idea that there has to be, I mean, so there was legislation going back to what you were talking about with the whites and the blacks during the slavery era, and then there was legislation that separated the water fountains and the different hotels and the places that whites and blacks could go. So legislation to undo that, okay, because that was terrible legislation, but we've just kept evolving, right? That legislation has just kept evolving and evolving and evolving, and to open it up to
Well, it's just all that
to
legislation to
give
begin with is
preference to
unconstitutional.
all these
We
other
can't,
groups. Yeah.
we-
So I agree. We're all in agreement
I
here
think that's
that
what the
there's
Supreme Court said when they got rid of affirmative action. They basically said like, hey, like this is unconstitutional because it gives preference based off of race, which is against. I want to say the 14th Amendment. Paul, can you pull that up?
Yeah, let's just go back to common law, right? Let's
Yeah, what is
just
the 14th Amendment?
do no harm and let's all just live together and raise our consciousness above
Yeah,
these
totally agree.
silly differences that we're focused on.
Yeah, so discriminating based on race can violate the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, specifically its Equal Protection Clause. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, states that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction equal protection. Let's see here. Oh, you maximized it. Now I can't find it. The equal protection, deny any person with its jurisdiction equal protection of the law. This clause prohibits states and, by extension, state actors from treating individuals differently based on race or other protected characteristics without a compelling justification. Key points, the 14th Amendment applies to actions by state and local governments, not private individuals or entities. So it really limits government's power to do this, whether it's public schools, government agencies, law enforcement, and if governments, it basically applies to Harvard because they are getting all this grant money from the government, right? Taxpayers are paying this, right? So, interesting.
All right, Paul. Anybody done the tasks
A couple
to win
people
the
said the
to win
live
the
chat's
thing?
locked,
Yeah?
Paul. Are you able to unlock the live chats?
We really want to give away
Oh,
one of those
no.
tickets.
Yeah.
I don't think I can unlock it. Let me check.
You trying to
The
keep the ticket for
what?
yourself, Paul?
Paul
Paul
That
wants to keep the
is-
ticket for
Paul's
himself.
trying to steal.
Ask it in
Oh
the
my
comments,
gosh.
maybe under.
When you launch a broadcast, it's one of the things you have to toggle, which is pretty frustrating. Like it should
wow.
automatically allow people to chat, but it automatically has it as no one's allowed to comment.
Oh my goodness.
So sometimes I forget to check that everyone's allowed to chat.
yeah.
So this time I did. Let me see if I can go back and fix it.
Yeah, what platform is that? Is that
That's on X.
Just on X, but there's also other platforms.
Yeah, they
that are
can chat
kinda-
on Rumble, YouTube.
Okay. All right, interesting. So just a reminder for anybody who's joining in, Bitcoin Ben is giving away a free ticket to whoever asked the most compelling question. If like on the live stream. So if we can't use the live stream on X, we will just use the comment on the show stream just underneath the link on the link itself. So whoever asked the best question will win a free ticket to the Las Vegas Bitcoin conference at the end of May. All right, let's move along here. Tim Draper on X. Gold is dead. It just sits there. Bitcoin moves, borderless, permissionless, programmable. You can't buy coffee with gold, but with Bitcoin you can, without banks, inflation, or friction. What do you boys think about that? Why don't you chime in, Jeff? Let's see what you got.
I like gold. I mean, gold's cool.
Yeah.
We use it in our computers, technology, jewelry, store of value.
Yeah.
It's tangible. You know, I like gold.
I think that's
it's-
an interesting take. I think what he's getting at here is that Bitcoin can be used more as a medium of exchange. It's like, with gold, if you walk in with a bar of gold, you can't really buy coffee with it. It's kind of like it's become more of the store of value asset.
Well, I could probably buy a 50-kilo bag of coffee with gold.
I mean, is it dead though?
I think he's just being hyperbolic, but I think gold
Yeah.
definitely has a role to play. But it's an interesting conversation. He's pointing out the benefits of Bitcoin over gold.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love
As an asset,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
I can't be in the middle of nowhere, say in outer Mongolia, and sell a half a Bitcoin and receive it in any currency I want wherever I am. It definitely doesn't have the what's the word? Not fluidity, the liquidity of gold.
Uh-huh.
Wait,
Yeah.
you said it doesn't have what? The what?
The liquidity of gold is.
I think
gold's
Bitcoin's
not so
actually more-
liquid.
I think
Bitcoin is like easily
Easily
You
liquid,
can
yeah.
sell it and buy
Yeah.
it anywhere in the world. You've
Yeah,
got an
that's what-
internet connection.
Yeah, I think if you walk into the
It's
jungles of
multiply
Mongolia with
divisible.
gold, I think you might end up with your head cut off and all your gold stolen. Whereas with Bitcoin, you can walk through it and you can have your seed phrase in your brain, and no one can ever.
Yeah,
know you
no,
have it,
one,
right?
no,
So,
no one would even know that you have Bitcoin. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
really.
the transportability of gold is one of the most difficult parts of it,
the big major flaw. Yeah.
yeah, transportability and the verifiability of it, right? You know, you have to be able to verify
Yeah.
the gold if you walk into a shop and you do happen to have a gold coin that matches the value that you want to trade it for in the shop. Then that shop owner's got to have a way to verify that that's actually gold.
That's called assayability. I believe assayability is the
Saleability.
assayability. So Paul, why don't you type that
yeah.
into the chat? I think
Anyway.
it's at
We're getting into-
ASSA.
Technically, we're getting
We're getting into characteristics of money.
Technically.
Hey, Paul, you got it
the
right. yeah.
characteristics
Ability,
of
yeah.
money.
Hey, Paul. Oh, he almost spelled it right.
Portability.
Portability.
ITY.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that's pretty good. I think you're right there. What does it say?
Yeah.
Just press enter. Say define. There you go. Assayability.
Right.
Assayability refers to the quality or capability of being assayed, meaning the ability to be tested, analyzed, or evaluated to determine the presence, quantity, or quality of a substance, component, or characteristic. So essentially what this, and the examples about metallurgy and whatnot, but basically they're getting so good now that they can take a metal that's not gold, but it's like close to it on the periodic table, and they just wrap a little bit of gold around it, and it has roughly the same weight. So even if you put it on the scale, it checks out like, oh, okay, this is real gold.
Yeah.
But upon further examination, it just weighs the exact same. So it's like, it can fool the just weigh a level of a saying that isn't like a deep level, right? So it just introduces more an issue with it, right? As we get more technically, as we get technically better.
I don't know where that came from,
It-
but
it's-
So
Definitely.
you don't know where it came from. So we
Never
watched
mind,
this
keep going.
Freedom Tunes video last time, and it just talks about how like the media just lies about everything about the news article. So it's got like the mainstream media people with their article like
yeah.
Trump deports he deports like Maryland man, right? And it's like
A
then like
baby.
technically, and then they peel off the thing, and it's like, oh, he's an MS-13 gang member. Oh, he's
right.
transporting human trafficking. Oh, he beats the shit out of his wife, and she files domestic violence charges and affidavits. Oh, he's 2 judges says he needs to be deported, right? So it's just kind of
get it.
making fun
Okay.
of
Let's
it. So we got to
got it.
call
don't forget he's not a citizen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine living in Ukraine like I did last summer and just acting the fool, thinking I can get away with it like I'm a big bad American, and they're protesting against
Yeah.
everybody in their government, and think I'm going to be safe,
Yeah.
Right.
and they're not going to ask me to leave respectfully.
Walk around with down with Zelensky signs.
Well, actually, that might catch on
Oh.
among a lot of the people
Good
at this point.
Really, they're tired of
Ah.
him holding his ground. huh?
John-
Yeah.
it's a
Anyway, let's
difficult
not go there yet.
Technically, John, I'm glad you're here today because I taught you something when we were traveling to that site in Texas the other week to look at the Bitcoin mining operation.
Yeah.
The Robbie Starbuck, his post, I decline the photo every time I'm at TSA. The agent always acts personally aggrieved by me declining it. It's so bizarre that it makes them so upset to have a citizen exercise their rights. Another thing, no one in front of me has ever declined, but people after me often do. I'm not sure if that says that TSA doesn't properly inform flyers, that the new photo thing is a choice, if most people just need to see leadership before asserting their rights, or I suspect both. I'd love to hear from a TSA employee why it's so triggering to agents when I decline it, though. I always, I feel the same way, right? Like, I mean, I
Well,
always
it's just
decline
because
it,
they
but-
have to go through 3 extra steps.
No,
That-
Exactly. It's just an inconvenience.
No, it's easier. All you got to do is hold the ID and look at the person. And
No,
say,
they have to bring someone down with like a handheld.
No, they
metal
don't.
no,
detector.
no,
No,
they
they
don't do any of
don't.
that. They don't
When
have
I
to take
ask for it, they always say, "Okay, you have to wait there, sir. We have
No,
to
they're
get
just being
someone."
dicks. They're just doing a power trip, is what that is, Paul. They don't have to do it.
They didn't do
you just
that.
say, yeah, they never done.
They didn't
never
do
done
that
Every
to me and
single
Maddie.
time they do it to
Yeah,
me.
they
Every
fucking
time.
they're dicks. That's why they're on a power trip.
That's
They're on
just
a fucking
because of
power
how
trip.
you look.
Yeah,
I think you're onto
you
something.
look kind of sus, bro.
I'm gonna paint
little
myself
suspect.
black and try
Maybe
it out
it's
next
the
time.
way you. Maybe it's the words you
I'm
use.
gonna-
What words do you use?
I just say, "Hey, yo, motherfucker."
Yo, fuck this
Really?
TSA shit.
Really, all I say is, "Hey, I
Goes a long
prefer
way.
not to be microwaved. Can I, skip this?" I guess that rubs them the
But,
wrong way.
It probably does. Yes.
What I say now, like I've got it all like super dialed in. I just go up and I say like I politely decline to be photographed. Can you manually verify me instead? That's pretty much what I say. And every once in a while there's someone who's an asshole, but for the most part, if I say it that way, I just give them my ID and they'll look at me and then okay, you're on your way. It actually takes longer when you stand for the photo and then you put your ID in the little thing. It's like, no, fuck that. I don't trust those
I
motherfuckers.
thought you really enjoyed that cavity search.
And then I let the TSA agents know that I saw John in the bathroom stuffing stuff up his butt.
No
What a
wonder we
friend.
miss every flight.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Technically, what do you?
Wait, I want to go back to Tim Draper and gold.
Oh, okay,
because
go
we
back to
didn't-
Tim
We
Draper,
didn't
go
touch
back.
on
All right, we're going
the
back.
whole concept that I think where he's going. He's trying to teach all these people my age and older
Yeah.
about the fact that gold has always been around but it's now most of the gold in the world is held by central banks.
Yeah.
So it's still a very much a centrally held, government held asset, and to get your hands on it is much more difficult than it is to get your hands on this other new currency called Bitcoin that everybody has access to.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just pointing out certain characteristics of money that
I
Bitcoin
don't
has superior
think-
attributes of.
I don't think he's doing himself any favors with the old people with the opening "Gold is dead."
Yeah.
I think he's just being.
Well-
I think he's just being hyperbolic. He's.
That's the provocative part.
That's
That gets him.
provocative,
That
yeah.
gets him to pay
Oh,
attention.
well, gold is dead. What is this guy talking about? And then he kind of like says, "Here's why Bitcoin's better." Yeah, I think it's clever. I think AI probably wrote it up for him, but it's pretty clever. All right, let's move along here. Truflation. John knows I love Truflation. They're just doing some really cool stuff on chain.
Yeah, but who was giving you a hard time about that? Craig. Was it Craig?
no, I don't
Shapiro,
think Craig
that
was giving me a
was
hard time about it.
challenging.
CJK. CJ
Oh,
says his shadow stats
CJ,
apparently
yeah.
is apparently Truflation. Matt, you explained it last time.
Yeah, I
Can you-
explained it.
can you,
Well,
what's the difference?
Truflation, like Truflation has a couple ways they can evaluate it. They have their own metric, but then they also have a metric that like does it the same way the government does it, like exactly how the government does it. And they basically what they're doing is they're front running the government reports because they know like they're basically saying like, hey, the way they're doing it is terrible, it's outdated, it's bad. But they can basically predict it like 30 to 45 days ahead of whatever they print. So basically that what I was saying is we like I knew inflation was going down before the Fed came out and said it because you could front run that by looking at Truflation's data. It's all transparent on chain. So and this is what they posted today, which I think is interesting, right? With all the tariffs and stuff that's happening. Since Trump got in, they've crushed inflation. Since the Trump administration has taken power, they have crushed inflation. It's literally evidenced by the chart. So we say we've been in a disinflationary trend for the past 4 months, but the real question is, where do you think we're headed? Whether our trend continues or an inflection point hits, the lagged government metrics will follow like clockwork.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep spreading the trough. So the question is right now, what is going to happen? Is inflation going to spike back up because of tariffs? Because that's inflationary. Is it going to stay down or is it going to like hover around where it's at? We just don't know, right? So the first comment on the thing says, considering the Federal Reserve going to take its time to ease and consumers are weaker without stimulus, I would say it will bounce around 0.5 to 1.5%. I don't see energy price spike from here. Tariff will certainly push price up, but that may be off or reduced by a signature. So interesting take there.
Well,
What do you guys think?
I'm kind of a purist on the whole inflation thing. I mean, I know we talk about inflation and these metrics are talking about inflation, but really all that is not inflation. It's prices, right? They're talking about the price of goods is increasing, but that doesn't have really anything to do with inflation. Inflation is strictly based on the money supply. So if they reduce rates, if they print more money, then that is inflation, and prices will go up
Yeah.
because of that.
Well, prices are
but
still going
prices
up right
are
now as we
going
speak.
up because
They're
of
just not
other
going up as
reasons
fast.
too.
Yeah. So what this metric actually it confuses people because people are like, "Oh, inflation's down, this, that, and the other." I know we're kind of saying that, but what this means is that prices just aren't quite increasing as fast. That's all this is saying.
Mhm.
Prices are still increasing, but just not as fast. It's like it's increasing less every time
Yeah,
they do
right.
the read.
Of
right?
course, yeah. Any
Yeah.
inflation,
Yeah.
anything above zero is
Yeah.
increase in prices.
Yeah.
And ultimately, isn't it a decrease in buying power?
Yes,
Anytime you
exactly.
have
Purchasing
inflation.
power.
Purchasing
yeah.
power, yeah.
And I don't know if we have time, but there's basically 3 ways to get out of a $37 trillion national debt. The one is tightening, cutting all the excess waste,
Austerity,
and
which is what Doge
who-
is doing.
austerity on their level, but
Uh-huh.
is Congress and the Senate prepared to be austere and lose their privileged positions?
It doesn't seem that way.
I don't think that's ever going to
Doesn't
happen.
seem like
That's
the
like them voting
Republican
for their own
controlled
term
chambers
limits.
want
I
to
mean,
do that.
it's never going to happen.
I think the House kind of passed somewhat of a reduction, but I think the Senate is trying to like essentially almost keep it the same or increase, which is just it's absolutely insane. We're literally running wartime deficits right now, which is hard to believe. Like, and we're not at war. It's like the spending is completely out of control. If you just people are saying like, oh, Doge isn't doing this, Doge isn't doing its job, Doge hasn't found that like they're Elon's gonna go away and he only cut 150 billion. It's like if you go to the fucking Doge tracker and read some of the fucking shit they're cutting, I mean, there is so much fraud, waste, and abuse. You can't even imagine. You can't even make some of this stuff up. $1 billion here, $1 billion there. I mean, it's just such fraud. The people that are party to this should honestly go to prison. I think it's treasonous. Honestly, it's literally treason. That's the way I look at some of this stuff. Just crazily insane.
All right, so you got two. You said two different ways. What are I think you said there's ultimately 4 ways or 3 ways. What did you say? 3 ways.
The second way, which maybe we have somebody who can call in and answer me since I've forgotten the second way.
Well, what was the
second way,
first way?
Grow your
Oh,
way.
austerity.
The second way is
austerity.
The second way is grow
Cut-
your way.
cut the
Grow your
budget.
way. Thank you,
Yeah, grow
Maddie.
your way out.
It's grow your way out of it, and certainly it's going to take a lot of growth to get there. But I guess that's a potential. I guess we can be optimistic about that.
I'm optimistic
When you
about it.
and you got to say when you say grow your way out of there, you mean grow production,
GDP,
increase
production,
production,
GDP,
you know,
the pie.
less regulation,
Yeah.
more jobs, more businesses, more
Yeah.
manufacturing,
bigger
more technology
economy.
companies, a bigger economy, a bigger pie kind of solves some of the problem. If
Yeah.
we really, with AI and some of the stuff that's happening, and I don't know, we could see some insane, massive GDP growth if we can deregulate all this nonsense,
Yeah.
overregulation.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
say in my
by
world
the
with real
leftists.
estate, it's 24.8% of regulation for new homes. The cost of new homes.
It's
24.
unbelievable.
It's like
I
a
mean,
quarter of the
that's-
cost of new homes is regulation.
It's crazy.
Supposed to be going away, which in theory would make new homes about 25% cheaper, and that will just naturally trickle down to all the
Yeah.
pre-owned homes as well. So it just depends on where you are in the market if that's a good
Mhm.
news for you or not.
yeah.
Let's call in Larry Lepard to tell us about the third way out.
Well, the third way out.
Do you know the third way out?
I do know the third way out, and that's the most likely way. And it seems like we're already on that road. You devalue the currency.
How do you do that?
Well,
they've
through
done,
monetary policy.
Yeah.
What does that
increasing
mean, monetary
inflation.
policy?
So
How do
you
you
notice,
using all
interesting
these
after
fancy
COVID,
words.
After COVID will not, for example, these people like all of us in Florida and everybody came here because, wow, I don't have to work in the office anymore. Why am I living in the cold and the snow? Let me move to Florida. Boom, 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 boom. And now all of a sudden, if I just happen to own a nice house in 2020, it's worth twice as much 3 years later.
Wow.
Now,
How did that happen?
is it really, it's worth twice as much, or is the dollar worth half as much as it was?
40%, 40% less, right? At
Yeah.
least.
They said that inflation was transitory, and that would never happen though if they printed $5 trillion out of thin air by
him
pressing
saying
a button.
that.
John, they told us that
But-
they just press a button and make trillion. They just add a bunch of zeros and just boom. They give it out to everybody, all their friends. They give to the big banks, and then
Yeah.
people apply for PPP loans and defraud the
Right.
taxpayer for
Right, and don't
couple
have to pay
trillion.
them out. Forget, that
Yeah.
wasn't a loan. It was just a gift. Consider it a
Yeah.
gift.
I mean, it's the same principle.
So
if
you're
you
telling
gotta-
me printing
wait a
money
minute.
didn't help the poor people, and
There's-
just got people with means just
Uh,
took it all
well,
and fucking inflated
it
the
helped.
economy?
It certainly helped the people who were smart enough to take that $1,200 and buy Bitcoin with it,
Well, that's for sure.
and hold on to it.
Mhm.
But I want to talk about this because we happen to have two people who have experienced firsthand a currency devaluation. Because, but Tim and I both were in Moscow in the 1990s, and the Russian government in the 1990s devalued their currency 2 or 3 times. You might have to fact check me on that, Paul.
I mean,
I remember walking around Moscow, and so I was doing pretty large transactions at the time. I was actually paying for aircraft charter flights. Funny that I ended up back here at an airport at the end of my career. And that's where I was at the beginning of my career. But so, we're talking about $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 transactions. And I can remember I'd have to go to the bank. I'd have to bring my dollars, which I could hold in my hand, and give it to the bank, and they'd hand me back rubles that would fill my backpack, literally a regular size college backpack, and it would be full of rubles, and I would take those rubles over to the place that
Straight
I
to the
was
strip club. Oh my,
paying for
Johnny.
the aircraft.
Ty очень красивая. Ty очень красивая. Я люблю тебя.
And and so the inflation rate was staggering. I'd have to daily would trade my dollars for rubles for what I needed that day, because the inflation rate was so staggering. And at a couple of points during my 10 years traveling back and forth to Russia, I know that they devalued the currency because people were taking their 1,000 ruble bills and turning them in at the bank and getting 10 ruble bills back for them, right? Because they had completely devalued the currency. And then if you didn't make it in time by the deadline, you just lost your money.
It was nuts. When I first arrived there in late June 1993, and it was like it was when it was the Soviet Union, of course, it was fake. It was like 1 ruble to $1, right? So they just floated it.
It's like Cuba right now.
Currency. Yeah. So when I arrived there, it was 100 rubles per dollar. And then within a month, it was 500 rubles per dollar.
Yeah.
And then it was up to, it was 1,000, 1,300 2 weeks later. And then Boris, apparently, he had a whole bottle of vodka. And he's like, everybody, you have 3 weeks where all the Soviet money will no longer be any good. You've got to exchange it for Russian money. You have 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there was like lines for, kilometers and kilometers. It was just insane. And then, of course, not everybody had enough time to do that. So then he reversed the decision. Nonetheless, I mean, it was like literally you had all these Soviet citizens who their life savings, all of a sudden, they couldn't buy a pack of gum with it.
Yeah. And
it was pathetic.
Yeah. And people in the Soviet Union, they didn't trust the banks. And so they would literally keep their savings in their mattresses.
Exactly.
Right? And so many people lost everything that they had saved their whole life because they had kept it in cash. And then all of a sudden, that cash is.
If only there was like a globally decentralized hard money that nobody could print out of thin air that had a hard cap supply.
What could that be? That's Maddie. That's a brilliant idea.
They store their life energy and savings in, and not have to worry about their government stealing all of their hard-earned life savings. I mean, it's just kind of wild.
If only
something like
they
that
had
existed.
had Bitcoin.
If only
back in the day.
Yeah. Only.
So most people in the West have no idea. It's cool that you guys have this perspective because you guys are old and shit. You've got this perspective and you've actually experienced something like this. But most of the Western world people, you guys only experience it because you were in another country. But have over 3 to 4 billion people on this planet live in circumstances like this that are ongoing every once a decade or whenever. We're extremely privileged here in the West, right?
Yeah.
We're the best house on a shitty street.
Yeah.
But
there are several countries experiencing hyperinflation as we speak. So. Yeah.
So there's people in some of these countries, it's like their job to go around I know in Venezuela and some Latin American countries, it's like somebody has a job that's the currency is being devalued so fast that their entire job is walk around the grocery store and change the prices because of inflation. Every day, just you're going through the meat aisle, just changing everything, the cheese aisle, boom, and just that's your job. You're just updating them, raising the prices every day because of how bad inflation is. And there's money changers outside each store. So you go in if you're in Venezuela or you're in some of these countries, it's you have dollars. You go in, you can't pay with dollars in the store because it's illegal and the government will, they got guns and stuff. So there's people in a back alley be like, hey, you got 3 or 4 Jacksons. I'm gonna give you some bolivars.
That's how I
and
used
then
to trade my rubles.
You just
in
go
the
in
back alley.
in the back alley, and they say, okay, I'm gonna exchange. Here's you give me 300 Jacksons, you get $60. I give you 5 million bolivars, and you get the bolivars. And you go into the store, you rush because the price is gonna change. The price is literally changing. You rush in, you grab what you need, you come back out. Okay, I've got 2 million bolivars left. Give me my dollars back. I'm not even joking. This is legitimately what happens, right?
No,
it's a real.
That was my experience, personal
Yeah.
experience. So Paul fact checked us, and I'll just read the
you can read it.
part of it. There's the data is clear. Russia's gone full debasement twice, 1998 and 2014 to 2016. That was I didn't experience that one, but the first one definitely. 1998 crisis was a gut punch, with the ruble's value vaporized by default and devaluation. The other one, the 2014-16 saga, was slower, but no less brutal. So, so 1998.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's not there, but I experienced it. They literally dictated, they dropped 3 zeros off the currency.
Yeah.
They said, okay, this
exactly.
is the new.
Yeah. So 1,000 rubles became 1 ruble.
Became 1 ruble.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that in your own
Ridiculous.
life? If
Could you
your
imagine?
$1,000 became $1.
Well, this has been
overnight?
happening throughout all of civilization. I mean, the Romans did this with coin clipping. You go back even further, the Sumerians did some level of this. I mean, like this is a story as old as time, right? When the government gets power, they will eventually find a way to print money or steal value from the citizenry,
Yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
taxes are hard because people concede on the front end, right?
Yeah.
You can see, oh shit, they're taking 30% of all the shit that I worked for all year. I worked 4 or 5 months out of the year to pay the government so they could go and run USAID scams and fucking launder my money to NGOs and then, funnel it back through Act Blue and advocate against my interests, right? Like you see all the stuff that's happening, or that go have all these wars and spend all this money and bomb people over here and do this, right? Like people don't like that, right?
Yeah.
But the most insidious tax of all is the money printer, because people don't realize their purchasing power, their life energy is slowly being sucked away by the quintillionaires.
Mm.
Yeah, and so before we leave this topic, I'm glad we brought it up because we just talked about the 3
Yeah.
different ways to get out of our situation.
Uh-huh.
And I want to remind everybody that Lawrence Lepard has a book signing this Sunday. So 2 days from now, Sunday the 27th, Lawrence Lepard will be at the Barnes & Noble in Naples.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find that. Go to just barnesandnoble.com and then look for the Naples store, and they do have a listing there showing the book signing. It'll be at 3:00, and it's going to be cool. We'll be there to support Larry, and the book is called The Big Print,
and that's the third way out of the equation.
The third way,
out of
yes.
debt, which is inevitable. All governments will do this. We're seeing it happening globally right now. I know Paul's looking for something right now, but when you go back to the take about about how M2 money supply is growing, the global money supply, it's because the Chinese are printing money. Money is being printed to devalue these debts and to steal from the population. And that people that own Bitcoin, guess what? Your Bitcoin gets repriced. It goes up. The price goes up. I mean, it's like it's inevitable, right? People are going to flee to safety in a way from this debasement, and this debasement's coming. It's already happening, and it has happened historically. It'll continue to happen, and I'm looking forward to doing a series with Larry on his book, The Big Print, which is what's coming. And we're going to do a series on the Cypherpunk'd podcast and kind of really unpack all of the different elements of it. So really looking forward to that. And if you can make it to the book signing on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. 3:00 Sunday afternoon, Barnes & Noble, Naples.
So here is Dennis Porter, his post. Money printer at full speed. Bitcoin will soon follow, right? So it's kind of a bold claim there, but look how closely Bitcoin has been tracking global money supply, right? As the money printers print, right, more money, more capital seems to flow into Bitcoin and get on that safety raft away from this debauchery of the currency. Oh, that was a good one. Did we talk about that one? You don't even have to open it, but it's a Michael Saylor post. When large U.S. banks are able to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets, everyone will want to buy it. No one will need to sell it, and you won't be able to afford it. So interesting take, because Bitcoin really is the best form of collateral, right? It's like this asset that nobody can take from you. It's this pristine form of collateral. You know exactly how much Bitcoin you own. If you physically own that Bitcoin, to be able to loan and borrow off that in fiat currencies or whatever, it's a tool that is will be heavily utilized in the coming decades, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
As you guys are just as you're gathering your thoughts on that real quick, I just wanted to say to everyone listening, thanks for listening to begin with, to our 429 listeners. I just wanted to say today, unfortunately, our live chat is not active, but we are giving away a Bitcoin ticket to the Las Vegas Bitcoin conference, and I just thought of a way that you can still have a chance to win this. So go ahead and retweet the live stream with your question, whatever it may be regarding these topics, regarding freedom technology, Bitcoin. Retweet the stream, and we will therefore enter you into the raffle. So since our live stream is not able to be activated, that is the best thing we can do for now.
Best question. Whoever has the best question, it'll be a five judge panel here, so we can vote on it. All right, let's go to our next take here.
Yeah, well, I just want to echo Michael Saylor's thing that I won't sell my Bitcoin. I'll use
Borrow
it to
against it,
borrow
yeah.
against. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
No doubt.
So if the banks can do that, watch out.
Yeah.
Because right now they have a lot
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah.
Because your
Where are
money,
you going, Paul? Where are you going
because
across all my takes? Where are you going? Get
the
your
money you have in the
back up
bank
there.
isn't yours; it's theirs, and they're going to use it to buy Bitcoin.
So I was skipping over some of this, but I was going to come back to it just because we're talking Bitcoin and inflation and all that. So I was going to
Yeah.
look for a
No,
post
that's
that's
okay.
along those lines.
Let's just stay where we're at. We can hop back to it later. Pull
All
this
right,
one
then
up. This is a good one.
Let's get into some current events here.
Yeah, let's
We've
talk
got
a little about this. This one's
Pam
wild. So,
Bondi uncovered quite a bit of fraud.
so
Take it away.
So do the show more button on this. This is really wild. So Attorney General Pam Bondi explains what really happened with Milwaukee judge Hannah Dugan that led to her arrest by FBI. The judge learned that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back into our country, charged with committing these crimes. Victim is in court. So some kind of violent action was taken. The judge finds out that ICE, the federal government, is there to deport this guy. She goes out into the hallway, screams at the immigration officer. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back into the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit, and tells them to leave while the state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom. I mean, you cannot even make this shit up. So this... she's literally trying to evade the federal agents coming to deport a violent illegal alien. And, thank God they arrested her. I mean, is she out of her fucking mind? Like, it's like, who the fuck does she think she is? Do you think she's above the law? Above the federal law?
Apparently, she does.
Apparently, yeah. That's a wild one. What do you guys think about this?
I don't think you can do that.
Well, apparently not. Technically, right? Like you can't even make this stuff up. I mean, these people, like, she's not an actual judge. She's just like a radical activist. I mean, just totally crazy.
It
It's
is
insane.
I don't understand the advocacy.
Like
I
insane.
mean, how do you?
Like the guy's in court because he violently beat somebody or did something, and the victim is literally sitting there in the courtroom, and she sneaks the illegal alien out after he was already deported, came back illegally. I mean, you just can't even make this shit up. Like, crazy.
Well, if he's in court, technically he's not guilty yet.
Technically,
He's not
no,
guilty.
He's
right?
he's
innocent. until
whatever he
proven
did in the
guilty.
state of whatever he did in the state of Wisconsin, like that. That's her jurisdiction, right? Like, like that violent crime that committed, like that's her jurisdiction. But she can't stop a federal agent from deporting an illegal alien. I mean, like, he was already violated the law by coming illegally multiple times. So like that's ICE's job to deport him, right? Like they're the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. Like she has a right in her courtroom to rule over whether, how bad did you punch him in the face? Did you beat the shit out of her? Whatever. What did you do, right? Are you going to go to jail for that, or you're not going to go to jail for that in the state of Wisconsin? But she can't overrule a federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent coming to take him away. I mean, it's just two levels of jurisdiction. It's like the teacher. You go to school, you bring your kid to school, and then like the teacher says, "Okay, you're in timeout because you talked in class." And like the parent comes to pick up the kid, and like the parent's like, "Okay, he's got to go to a doctor's appointment," and the teacher takes the kid and sneaks the kid out and says, "No, you're not going to your doctor's appointment." Like this is kind of what's happening
That's
here.
a little bit different analogy.
I
but
think it's a way to think about it. Is a way to analogize it. But what do you got? What's your?
Well, I guess I wasn't paying close attention, but there's a couple things going on there. Should the federal laws always overrule the state laws? Aren't we state law, proponents? And so is she? Why was she doing it? So I mean, granted it's fishy, right? She's probably somebody's paying her to protect this person or get him
I don't
out of
know. I mean,
keep him out of federal hands,
It's-
or she's just supporting his right, his supposed, maybe she thinks she has the right to be here, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
he was already deported. He was already ruled that he was not allowed to be in the United. Like the federal government has a job to protect the border and sovereignty of the nation. I
Clear
mean,
in
that's-
the first page of the
yeah, that's not-
Constitution, I believe.
Yes.
It's not the
So-
Federal
it's not
responsibility.
some random low level judge's Wisconsin job to decide who comes in and out of the country, right? She can rule on the domestic violence dispute, like, oh, you only gave her one black eye instead of two, so we're gonna get you off with 6 months probation or whatever, like, But she can't stop a federal Immigrations and Customs Enforcement agent from removing an illegal alien from the country. That's like not her jurisdiction, right? Like that's
Right.
insanity, right?
Well, what does it mean? Psychologically, how do you label this? If there's a person and he is against waste, theft, fraud, and murder. And I hate that person so much that anything that he's against, I have to be for.
Yeah. Which is
How-
pretty much what's been
what-
happening, right? Like they hate Trump so much.
How is that a basis of your own conscience?
It's just you're against your opponent, right? So it's like Trump's done so well at getting on the side of like all these 80-20 issues where like it's like, oh, it should trans women be playing with biological women in sports? Everybody's like 90% of people are like, fuck no. Like no. Like
And the rest are like, absolutely.
so
are
now
you
that like
kidding
Trump's
me?
like attaches that, they're like, oh no, we're gonna take the other side of it, right? Like it's like
Well,
all these issues. The American people overwhelmingly voted for this agenda to remove illegal aliens, the 20 million that were let in by the Biden administration. They voted to remove those people by electing Trump. The people of the United States overwhelmingly want this. We don't want our tax dollars being spent to shuttle in
you say
millions
that.
of people.
Wait, so let me stop you on the overwhelmingly because it's not true. It wasn't an overwhelming. It was an overwhelming victory in the Electoral College, which
Yeah, that's what I
granted
mean.
that's the Trump team played the game and they
Every
played
swing
the right
state was
game.
won.
Yeah,
The majority of the
but it
Americans,
wasn't
even the
an over-
popular vote.
But it
was,
wasn't an overwhelmingly victorious popular vote. It was just barely.
Yeah,
a
but
popular
consider all
vote
of the
win.
foul play. Consider,
Yeah, consider all the
consider-
fraud.
Well, we can
bullshit.
consider all that stuff too, but
Yeah.
I'm just making a point that here we're
Yeah.
we're in an echo chamber here, but there's
True,
like
you're right.
49.5, maybe even now
Yeah.
more like 51% of the people out there in the world that are protecting their belief system that they've been indoctrinated with for so many years.
Yeah.
And so this is where a person like that judge feels like they have the right to overrule something because, just like you said, okay, this guy's for all these great things, but to them, they can find a lot of reasons why those things aren't great, or his approach to those things are wrong, and so they feel like
I don't
they can
know
pull. So
what kind of approach you can have when the previous administration essentially opens up our southern border, allows a total invasion of our country, flies in millions of illegal, violent gang members and criminals, essentially like 500,000 to a million of these people are actual criminals, right? I just don't know that, like, nobody voted for that. Nobody wanted that. They lied about it. I think that's unfair to people having to pay the taxes to fund all this schools, medical system, all the stuff that's happening, just totally taking over some small towns all over the place. I mean, this is just, it's almost treasonous in a way, but Trump did win. The elections are always close. They're always like, for the most part, like the will of the people is, electorally he dominated. He won every swing state overwhelmingly. I don't think Republicans won the popular vote for like 30 years. That tells you how fed up people are, right? And you've got the other issue is that, and I think this is the main reason this is all happening, is that these people are all, the people that they bring in are all voting. Like a lot of these people are voting. They're signed up to voting. They're ballot harvesting in these states. And we're going to get to a couple takes later on where if you actually remove a lot of these illegal aliens from the census, that's like 27 seats in Congress. Like that's like how bad it is, right? So like, it's literally tilting Congress. That's why they want this, right? Like it's the political strategy here.
Yeah, and
this is why this was aided, abetted, and allowed because they needed this.
And it's anti-American in the core because what is it?
Unbelievable.
It is come here and get on the dole, and we'll give you stuff for free. Just vote for us.
Yeah.
When and where was that ever the American dream? I'm all for legal immigration. In 1758 from Europe came my ancestry legally into the United States. Yeah. And they were quite poor too, but nonetheless they had to come in legally.
Right. It's
So-
that JFK
Yeah.
mantra. Ask
Yeah.
not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Exactly.
Right. It's that
Yeah.
difference of a mentality that really has a massive impact on how they go about contributing to the greater society, assimilating. But guys, I think just the overall thread that we're pulling on here is that these individuals have become activists and they are not able to separate their activism from their actual roles that they have sworn themselves into under oath, right? So if you are an elected representative supposed to uphold the Constitution, supposed to uphold the law, you have to set aside your political ideologies and just black and white, very cut and dry, uphold the interpretation of the law. And so I think that's something that was very well captured in this clip here that I'm going to play for you real quick, just because it hits it hits it on the head. You know how we're essentially we're drifting further away from our Constitution with all of this.
There's one person in cable news who did some real journalism, okay? Tucker Carlson he got Governor Murphy from New Jersey on his show. Yeah. And he asked him one simple question that was never asked of any of the other lockdown governors. And you know what the question was? He had just shut down, it was either a church or a synagogue, I can't remember. And he goes, oh, wait a minute, so you just shut down this temple and arrested people for worshiping. Where do you get the authority to do that? Because I've read the First Amendment, and it's pretty clear that you have the freedom of religion, and so where do you get the authority to shut that down? And you know what Governor Murphy said? He said, well, I'm not thinking about the Constitution. That's above my pay grade. So let me, just to make this
That's
clear,
a stupid
okay?
answer.
Yeah, it sure is, but you know what? Your brother and none of the rest had a better one. They just never got asked that question. So here's
but it has nothing to do with the First Amendment.
Yeah, of course it does, Chris. Here's the bottom line. There's no clause in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that says, unless there's a virus that we don't know that much about and then this all goes away. The point is that it was completely criminal for all of these governments to lock down. They had no authority to derive the right to lock down a state from. And yet you, instead of anyone at CNN thinking, hey, if we have Andrew Cuomo on here every single night, maybe someone should ask him that question. They went, no, give him a cushy interview with his brother. Like, you don't find that incredibly corrupt?
No.
Interesting.
No, I want to hear his answer. What's his justification?
Cuomo
There's no justification.
is 100% compromised. That guy tried to make a comeback. He was on a comeback tour to try to redeem his name. And essentially, when it came down to it, he was still for not implementing voter ID. He was all for the trans stuff. He's just entirely consumed by the woke mind virus. And I think it's all this activism, right? Like they allow for it to become, you know, their goal. Their goal is to fundamentally change our infrastructure, change our checks and balances, remove these rails that essentially prevent any of these radical, you know, political ideologies to essentially overtake the system. There's supposed to be this natural check and balance, which we have gone quite, you know, now we're seeing how Trump is being literally stifled by the, you know, judicial branch, which we did not foresee. But moving along, what do you guys want to
Let's touch on that little post right there by Leading Report. You don't have to open it. Apple plans to shift the assembly of all iPhones destined for the U.S. market from China to India by the end of 2026. So that's an interesting play here with everything that transpired recently with J.D. Vance going over to talking to the Prime Minister Modi over there. The interesting play. So there, you know, some major supply chains may be being moved to India, who seems to really want to make a deal with us and work with us. So, you know, once those supply chains move, you can't get them back, right? So, we'll see what happens here. That's I think that's an interesting domino to fall. People think, oh, it's, you know, we got to get cheap shit just from China. Like, no, there's other countries that we can manufacture in and build in and that have tech talent that can manufacture some of these things. So, interesting little tidbit that I saw sneaked in if that report is indeed true.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, you've got not to speak of Kevin O'Leary from the future 51st state. I'm just kidding.
How about Mr. Wonderful?
Mr. Wonderful made the strong point about, and this has been going on since we've been, serving as a developing country to this day, which that's changing, by the way, but Cent's going to change that. So in the IMF and the World Bank, so China is no
was
longer
talking
a
about
developing.
Yeah, they've been able to skirt a lot of the rules because
they're the second biggest economy in the world. That makes sense. And then they take and they steal the intellectual property. They copy everything. They can't come up with anything on their own since back in the day when they made pasta and gunpowder, apparently. So now you make something that's like half the stuff is regurgitated on Amazon that these great mostly American entrepreneurs have come up with, and China goes around, copies it, does not have any respect for their intellectual property, and produces it and underprices them. And that's got to stop. So maybe, in fact, India will actually play by the rules of business.
I guess we'll see. We had an interesting debate about intellectual property the other day, so some great points were made on both sides of the equation. But let's move along here and look at this. So I thought this was interesting. I saw this pop up. It looks like Zelensky has claimed that he does say here that He told Ben Shapiro that every cent of the hundreds of billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars sent to Ukraine has been properly tracked and accounted for. He claims Russian misinformation is to blame for the growing skepticism surrounding how the war funds were spent. Zelensky even challenged U.S. inspectors to audit Ukraine's war spending, say he's confident in the records. That's quite a claim there. I mean, of course he says that, but I just wanted to put that on the record that before, it seemed like there was a report before that he said that they weren't quite sure, like they didn't know about $100 billion, or he was on the record saying something months ago that like he didn't that the numbers didn't quite add up, but now he's kind of like coming back and saying, yeah, they're adding up, they're perfect. So I personally find that extremely hard to believe, but I think it's worth noting that these are his claims now. What do you guys think?
Does that include all the Doge that was sent there too?
I don't know. I don't know if he's going to allow Doge to come in to do an audit. I don't think he'll be too happy about that.
No, the coin. But there was a point where
we were
crypto
selling
was being
crypto.
sent.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Does that include all the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and affairs? They had quite a few.
Yeah. That includes
Offshore
the profits
entities.
from Burisma.
Yeah, exactly. There it is.
Yeah, if I may, that's, let me just start with no country is not completely innocent of corruption. That's for sure.
Mhm.
But to claim that, well, let me put it this way. I've spent a lot of time in Ukraine, and it didn't stop me when the war started throughout the past 3 years as well. And when you have Ukrainian citizens starting up startups and GoFundMe to provide basic supplies for the soldiers that can't afford it, given all that Western Europe and the United States has provided for them, there's something wrong with that picture.
Yeah.
So there is the fact that there are oligarchs that do indeed pull the strings. So not all the money gets to where it should be.
No doubt about it. There's probably so much like grift and contractors and stuff in the middle of all this stuff. So yeah, it might be accounted for on paper. Like, hey, yeah, this $1 billion went to this contractor, and then maybe 100,000 of it actually made its way to the front line. The other 900,000, who knows what happened to it? Or 900 million, who knows what happened to it? Right. So I think that is indeed the case.
Well, wasn't it true that the Pentagon couldn't even account for
Yeah, we can't account. Of course, it's
for
the
it.
same
If we
thing.
can't account
Yeah.
for it, how can they account for it?
I've been reading that they're allowing Doge in there. They've already saved billions of dollars. They're finding all these contractors, and a contractor who refers another contract. It's a contract. A contractor who advises on contracts.
First cousin's, second cousin's brother.
Yeah, it's this grift has just got to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in all. It's not just and again, I think that's a lot of people say, oh, like it's in everything. The military, the Pentagon, all these. Some of these NGOs and little USAID scams are like the most egregious, but like this is happening across the board where, people are getting preferential contracts and treatment and just all this nonsense. It's got to stop, and there needs to be transparency so people can call it out and basically do what Doge is doing. Like, hey, this doesn't add up, which goes to say, why isn't all of our public spending on a blockchain? It should be. People should be able to audit the books. They are public. This is public servants. Public, right? They shouldn't be able to, like, the record shouldn't be all hidden. No, it should be public. Where did this go? What was this spent? Can we watch it go from where it's saying it's going to where it's going, right? Like, if it's on a blockchain, all those things can be done, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
That's another beautiful aspect
yeah.
of the blockchain.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah,
Receipts
they would
can
have
be
that.
uploaded.
And I do want to say, just to clarify, there's corruption there in Ukraine, but the overall, definitely Russia attacked Ukraine. I mean, that's
There's
the
no doubt
fact.
about that.
And they've done some horrible things outside the normal parameters of war, and so I do stand with Ukraine.
So just while we're on that topic, and since you lived there, here in the West, we're under the impression that the United States, NATO, UN, and whatever, we have continued to encroach on that border. Violated our initial agreement after World War II again and again, and excluded Russia from joining, and essentially wanted to set up shop right on their border.
Mhm.
So that could be considered, an offensive, perhaps.
No, I mean, there's a lot of factors
But
that factors definitely come into play. But when you physically initiate the violence by taking troops, tanks, and go across somebody else's
Right.
border,
So
right? Like, you've initiated the violence, right?
I'm asking
You can be
because
upset about.
what was the sentiment amongst Ukrainians at the time? Since were you there during that period?
I was not. I was there in November of 2021. And war started, I believe, February 24th, 2022. So I wasn't there, but just as a student of history, you could definitely hear Putin, who, been in power for 22 years now, 23 years, how his concerns were even in the early 2000s, that you guys keep moving. Well, it's voluntary. That is true. These are voluntary countries that are voluntarily joining NATO because they're scared of you. Because the old Soviet system and the satellite system of Eastern Europe, it was all pretty much designed to suck as much money to the capital, to Russia, to Moscow and St. Petersburg, out of all those countries. So they have a legitimate fear of you and your control. Nonetheless, if you look at Russia, they do have a history of fearing the West for good reason. What Napoleon did, what Hitler did, how far they went invading Russia. Russia has no natural boundary geographically to defend itself. You could say it's paranoia, but they do have historical precedent for being fearful of the West expanding. So having said that, I do believe that could have been handled better. There's definitely an element in Ukraine that was very strong for, very patriotic, and very strong for wanting to be absorbed and integrated into the West. And it's just a difficult situation when that's on the very doorstep of Russia. But nonetheless, I think it could have been handled better, because ultimately, now that all the blood is shed and all the death is done, there is such there's so much hatred and revenge, and it's just a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just, once again, the Biden administration essentially gave them the green light, saying they're not going to retaliate. And in my opinion, that was the military-industrial complex essentially encouraging it. And I'm just all around anti-war. I'm disgusted by it. We're in the 21st century. You should be able to sit down. Right?
Yeah, it's it's a multifaceted issue, and it's never black and white. There's always gray, right? There are legitimate concerns, but to say that Ukraine started the war is ridiculous. I mean, Russia went across the border with troops.
Nope,
and
I don't think anybody's saying Ukraine
Yeah.
started the war.
No, but that some people have absolutely said that.
Well,
That is
it's
a-
just this idea that
Yeah.
Ukraine is the same way that Biden was a puppet. He
Yeah.
wasn't like a democratically elected candidate. In my opinion, I think he was a what's the right term? He was almost
Figurehead?
Yeah, well, he's a figurehead. I mean, but he was essentially appointed, and the deep state was running the show. And so I think the same thing was happening in Ukraine, right? They canceled their elections a few times, but I think if you look at the polls, maybe Matt knows more about the subject than I do, but essentially what I'm saying is, here is the sentiment in the West that that Ukraine was essentially being influenced by these.
They
military-
absolutely were. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
like they're not mutually exclusive things. You can say that the Russia was uncomfortable with the influence of the West and the coup that occurred, and getting involved with all these NGO slush fund programs, doing regime change all over the world. I mean, that goes without saying. The U.S. has acted as the police of the world, and we wouldn't want Russians and the Chinese influencing stuff on our border, right? Like, it makes sense. That being said, if we marched troops across Mexico's border and invaded, we would still be responsible for the initiation of that violence, right?
Yeah.
You can make an argument that, hey, we had to do this, it was justified. You can say all that. I don't know how convincing it is, but I understand their side. I can understand their point of view, and they do have legitimate concerns, right? While at the same time saying they probably could have solved this diplomatically. They didn't need to start that war and see, but it was a land grab. They grabbed a bunch of land. They grabbed it all along the river. I mean, it's obvious. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
they wanted access to
If
the
they're going to
Black
go and
Sea or
invade,
whatever.
they're going to get strategic.
Yeah,
They're going to take strategic
it's
territory.
It's what happened,
Like,
right? So
there's no
here we
sense
are
in invading just
Yeah.
to kill people.
And I think Trump was saying today that they might be close to a deal. So hopefully we can come up with something that at the end of the day, maybe we have better relationships and they don't feel the need that they need to do this, and we have foster better economic relationships both with Ukraine and with Russia. That's a win for the world.
Yeah.
Right. Because as of right now, people are dying every day. It's just it's a bloodbath, and we're where we're at in 2025. We don't need this. Let's try to figure out how we can get everybody coordinated on this planet to maybe go to another planet. Like, let's get to Mars. Let's be a multiplanetary species. Let's explore the cosmos. Like, let's unite a little bit here. There's bigger things happening, right?
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Redirect all of those resources towards a collective good.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Reminder: we're giving away. Bitcoin Ben is giving away to us to give away a free ticket to the Bitcoin Las Vegas conference. I think it's worth somewhere between $300 and $600. So whoever asks the best question, you can retweet our link. You can comment on the link, ask a question, and whoever has the best one, we will give away here.
I think it might be time to select a winner if that clock
Yeah.
is right. Don't
Yeah,
you have
'cause
a football game to
I
go
gotta
to?
go coach something, so we
Yeah,
maybe got one.
it's 6:12 already.
might
And your
gotta
game
run
starts
here.
at
Yeah,
6:30.
I
So
might have to run. So
do we have a winner yet,
practice
Paul?
starts 6:30. Yeah, Paul. Do we have any questions? Any comments to?
I've been tracking the retweets.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, no.
We got anybody want to win a
questions.
free $500 ticket to the Bitcoin conference?
No. What about comments? Anybody make a comment?
Comment.
There
we got
was
here?
comments, but
Let's see what we
but
got.
just generic.
Well, what do we
no
got
questions.
here? Let's see the comments. We're gonna pick a comment.
We got to give it away.
We
We
gotta
got to
give it
give away
away.
a ticket.
We
So
gotta
let's
pick the best comment. We gotta do something. Somebody ask. Somebody retweet.
Yep.
Something
So-
here.
Unless you want to wait and see what came up on Rumble and all that, and then we can
Yeah.
notify the winner later.
Yeah, we might have to do that. We'll see.
How's that?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna continue this throughout next week, and I'll make sure that the live stream chats are active. It's not letting me open it up anymore now that we're already streaming. So unfortunate, but
Yeah.
for whoever is listening, if you just retweet this live stream right now with a value-added question
Or comment.
or comment,
Yeah.
then you will be entered into the raffle. And currently, there's only one other person, so there's a high chance of winning.
That's a pretty high chance of winning.
Pretty
I'll
good.
take those.
50
I'll
that's a
take those odds.
50-50, right? And there's
I'll take those odds.
820 people listening.
Yeah, so
so
we got something here. Paul, do me a favor. Go to the bookmarks real quick. We'll do a quick recap. I just want to scroll down and look at them. If there's anything that's really pressing to
You just want
cover.
to look at it.
So they did. So yeah, I mean, no surprise here. They used laundered USAID money to try to impeach Donald Trump. I mean, just crazy. Taxpayers are paying for this nonsense. Michael Schellenberger, usually a very independent journalist, talking about this. We don't need to click into it. We don't even need to click into it. Let's keep scrolling down. Let's see what else we got. Yep, it looks like Social Security, major cleanup from Doge, which is really nice to see. The other thing that is happening that I think is a big deal is, a lot of sovereigns, like sovereign nations, buying Bitcoin. Here's a meeting with the Swiss Central Bank here that Pete Rizzo is talking about. They manage over like $1 trillion plus. So talking about how Bitcoin is this, he used a term, I can't remember what it's called. Somebody won an economic prize as talking about an asset, a type of asset that it is. It's called like I can't remember the name of it, but like kind of like an uncorrelated asset or something like that, or like a hedge against the system.
Wait.
the Swiss banker. If you could watch the 1 minute clip, Paul, it's going to be way easier to just to play the 1 minute clip.
But I want to go back. So what? 11 million dead people were receiving Social Security. Is that what that?
Well,
chart
they don't
says?
necessarily say that people were receiving Social Security. They're saying they were still in the database, and then those numbers were being used for Medicaid, for different government programs. People were giving those Social Security numbers, right?
Oh, I see.
So that's kind of what's
So
happening here. Now,
Social
some of those
Security
people
numbers
might,
were still. in
some of
the-
those
I
people
see.
might still be getting checks, right? Like we don't know, but
They-
they're not.
some of them might still be
yeah,
alive.
yeah.
The
Well,
hun- the
no,
100
I don't think.
120
I don't think
range,
any of these
right?
11 million people who are aged 120 years plus are still alive. But
There might be one or two of them.
no, I think the oldest living person's like 114 right now. So
Oh,
I
is it?
think statistically, it's
Alright.
pretty improbable.
Okay.
Um,
Just fact checking.
yeah. So
Matt, are you saying that they're talking about that in this video
no,
here?
no,
No,
bro, go
down one-
down. You got to scroll down. Yeah, that
That
video
one
right there.
right
Yeah, it's
there.
only a minute 44, but he talks about it. The kind of asset it's called. I learned something today. I didn't know what that asset was called.
Well, let's hash it back up here.
Just
We'll-
play it from the middle.
Okay.
Society needs resilient institutions. Bitcoin can be worth a lot in a specific scenario
Here's what
of
it's
the
called.
multipolar world order with fading trust in government debt. The high price of gold and Bitcoin is the market signal to tell us that this scenario is not unlikely. In economic terms, Bitcoin resembles an arrow security,
Arrow
named
security.
after the Nobel Prize winner Kenneth Arrow.
Kenneth Arrow.
And as
yeah.
anyone with a formal education in portfolio theory knows, the question is not whether to hold an arrow security, it's how much should be held. I leave it to the competent employees at the Swiss National Bank to figure out the right amount. But I'm pretty sure that it is higher than the 1,000 Bitcoin you already hold indirectly through shares of companies that have Bitcoins. If you want our help with these considerations, we stand at your disposal.
So really interesting, yeah. And like there's,
An arrow security.
An arrow security, yeah. So it's a type of something you want in your portfolio that's kind of like non-correlated, that kind of like a hedge.
Yeah.
And the final story I wanted to get to, Paul, you can maximize this one today. The Federal Reserve. This is directly from the horse's mouth. It looks like they're saying that they announces the withdrawal of guidance for banks related to their crypto asset and dollar token activities and related changes to its expectations for these activities. So it's basically saying we're not going to put our thumb on the scales and make, micromanage certain things against a certain industry. So this, to me, is the formal withdrawal of Choke Point 2.0, which I love to see it, right? So I said right from the horse's mouth. Love to see it.
Nice.
You guys have any thoughts on that before we close out here?
Sounds bullish.
Sounds bullish. All right.
I
Paul.
did get one question. So
We got a question.
We got a question.
Somebody might. So we got a winner, baby. What do we got? What do we got here?
Let me pull it up.
Somebody's gonna win a Bitcoin ticket. Somebody's smart. Let's see. What do we got?
Okay, so someone asked, why is Bitcoin finally not correlating with triple Qs?
Somebody just put Bitcoin conference ticket. So Jesus is Lord. All right, let's with QQQ. So QQQs, type in QQQs into Grok. I think that's like the stock market. I think that's what it's like. Why is it not correlating with the stock market? The answer to that question is that Bitcoin trades in different ways based on different activities and things that are happening. There's different groups of people buying Bitcoin for different reasons, right? Like some people are buying it because it's hard money and they absolutely need it. Some people are buying it because, they can store wealth in it on a portfolio like Michael Saylor. We've got Swiss banks talking about, hey, the Swiss central bank or whatever saying, hey, we're going to buy this because it's non-correlated. It's an arrow security, right? Other people are buying it because the number goes up and they like to speculate. But as time goes on and people realize, holy shit, they can't make more of this. It's absolutely scarce. And more people are waking up and realizing this. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a money that is hard. It's the hardest money to ever exist. And as people realize that governments are going to print money and they're going to debase the money, it's why gold and Bitcoin are starting to break away from more speculative type things, right? Bitcoin is still very early on, still somewhat considered a speculative asset, and people trade it speculatively, right? But there's another group of traders who are buying it for a different reason. So that's why I think Bitcoin is trading in a decorrelated fashion. So hope that answers the question. So here we got David Lynn saying, Bitcoin has been decoupling from the stock market since the middle of April, the first image, and started tracking gold more closely, second image, around at the same time. Is this the decoupling event investors waited for? Will Bitcoin keep tracking gold? Comment below. Very interesting. Very interesting. So here another take from Jay McKay. Bitcoin is decoupling from the shitcoins and the NASDAQ as it should. It spent too long being correlated with categories that don't make sense for Bitcoin's ultimate purpose. Beautiful day, Bitcoin. So yeah, it's interesting to see. And you're watching the birth of a new asset class in real time as it approaches, $1, $2, $3 trillion. Eventually it will be worth $100 trillion, right? Like that will be, gold's already 20 trillion plus, and Bitcoin is just a better version of gold in my opinion. So, I think this is the birth of a new asset class, and you're going to see this play out over the coming decades, right? So hope that answers the question.
And, here's another point being made that one of the big factors at play is the bonds, right?
Yeah.
The money reallocating from bonds into Bitcoin.
No doubt.
Nation state adoption.
Yeah, I think there was last I checked, there was like some not like 10 to 100, somewhere between 10 and $100 trillion of funds allocated to negative yielding bonds. So like you put your money in the bank and like it loses value in real terms. So not only are you getting destroyed by inflation, but you're also getting destroyed by getting a negative real return, which is insane. Like who the hell is doing that? Like it's so illogical. Like, but as people are realizing that, holy shit, these debts, all this stuff that's happening, the money printers are being primed up. People are like, fuck, how can I avoid being debased without taking risk? Well, you'll hold the hardest, scarcest, most pristine form of collateral to ever exist in all of human history, Bitcoin. So on that note, guys, it's a wrap. I got to run and get to football practice, but thank you so much for listening. And we have a winner with our question. 941 people listening right now. It's too bad we didn't have more questions. Like, I guess that was the best question.
They'll learn next time.
They'll learn next time. We're going to give away
we'll have
another
ticket. To give away.
So Jesus is Lord. You win the giveaway.
Yeah.
All right.
Amazing. Congratulations.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
We'll see you in Las Vegas.
What
in
better
Las Vegas.
soul to give the ticket to than
There you go.
Jesus?
All right.
All right.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Bye.
The Runway.